welcome to our online coffee series, a place where we talk with very interesting people, having a nice cup of coffee with us. Today we are hosting Borys, our teacher, and a guy who has really nice experiences with Australia. So we're going to talk a little bit about Australia. Borys, welcome to the video channel series. I don't know yet how to call it.
Hello, it's good to be here. Yeah, I'm really happy to be able to share some things with our audience. That would be nice, yeah.
Perfect. So, first of all, maybe let's start from telling a little bit about yourself, introducing you to our audience. So, what can you tell us about yourself? Who are you?
Yeah, sure. That sounds awesome. Yeah, my name is Boris. I am a teacher. I work for online, and we teach people English, and it's a really great experience, and I absolutely love it. It's recommended for everyone. And yeah, we I am. I'm 19, going on 20 years old, and I lived for a little bit both in Poland and then in Australia. And yeah, that's the case. So early childhood in Poland, and then like about a 6.5 year period in my teens, from 10 to about 16 and a half in Australia. So kind of
Okay.
that key growing up stage for me was in Australia.
Boris, can you tell us a little bit about the place where you grew up? What were the advantages? What were the disadvantages of that place? Can you tell us something about it?
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, great question. I really like the place I grew up. It was a town, or a suburb town of close to Brisbane, which is one of the major cities. The capital of Queensland is Brisbane. About 30 or 40 minutes outside of Brisbane, it was called North Lakes. It was a very new place. It was very new houses, very fresh infrastructure. I believe it was no more than maybe 10 years old, something like that. So it was one of the newer areas around where I lived. It was very nice. Perhaps contrasting it to where I live now in Poland, it's much different. It's kind of like a I think maybe for some people who live in the States, they'll be able to relate to this. But for especially in Eastern Europe, right, we are very used to these.
You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful throwing the Eastern Europe around.
Right. Okay. Right. I forgot. Some people don't like that.
Some people get offended. I mean, I believe I'm on your side actually, but yeah, it's true. Some people get offended by that. But yeah.
Okay. So for those people,
Europe.
yeah. Right. So like Central and Eastern Europe. What I mean is Warsaw Pact countries, right? We're very used to having these this kind of ex-communism infrastructure, right? So apartment blocks, which I'm living in right now, which I'm recording from right now, which are something like 10, no, maybe 11 stories high, with that stretch on for, I don't know, about 400 meters, something like that, or maybe less. And it's kind of like a few stairwells, an elevator, and then apartments on either side, with and it's something like with balconies on one side, and that's essentially what a lot of housing and accommodation looks like for city centers, and in Poland particularly. Not gonna say for other countries, but from what I can see as well in some of the other Warsaw Pact countries, that's what it looks like. In Australia, you can think about, it's a lot of land, quite big place. They have a lot of when it comes to land, I think there's a lot to spare. True, some of it gets burned every now and again,
Sure.
but there's quite a nice size of land. So the way that most people live is in houses. There will be kind of these very residential areas, or towns, where there will be a few main roads, and then branching off of those will be roads, and then there will be a house after a house after a house. You have like a house, a front yard, a backyard, maybe a meter of space on either side, a fence, and the next house.
All right. So something that we know from the, let's say, American neighborhoods, American outskirt neighborhoods, right? That you have very similar areas, a road, right, a couple of houses going together, and then you do just copy paste, and you have more and more and more, right? All
exactly,
these like copy paste neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, no better way I could describe this. Especially when compared to, like I said, Warsaw Pact kind of countries. Copy paste. It's kind of the way it is. Yeah, especially the new areas. You're right. The new areas, you know, some smart, or maybe not so smart, I don't know, urban planners are sitting there and they're going, okay, I like this idea, copy paste all over the place. You know, which is effective. It gives a lot of people reliable and nice houses, and people have front yards, they have backyards, which is a lot more than some of us can say.
That's true.
Exactly, yeah. The gardens, that usually they're not too big. Like I said, they're house after a house, right? And behind you there are also houses, right? So usually, I don't know, maybe 70 square meters, 80 square meters. No, what am I saying? Yeah, something like that. Maybe 60, 70 square meters for smaller houses. For bigger houses, of course, it's different. And people will then, you know, that's a nice area. You can maybe have a pool in the back. A lot of people in Australia have pools.
Living in this temperature, you gotta have a pool, right? I mean,
yeah. And
no
if you don't, let me tell you, it's frustrating. We had like a makeshift kind of pool. It was half above ground, half in ground, and it was okay, but still, I would like to have that big, nice dug-in pool. It's very common in Australia to have that.
Cool.
So that's the way it works, and that's kind of where I lived.
As you remember your life as a kid in Poland, your first years, I mean, you have some memories of that, and then you moved to Australia. How would you describe the difference between the life of a kid in Poland and the life of a kid in Australia?
Sure. Yeah, good point. And of course, you know, everyone has individual, I would say, experiences, right? But from what I can say, maybe talking about the general kind of themes that guide life in Poland for a child versus life in Australia for a child, I would say kids in Poland are let out of the house earlier.
Oh.
I think that, yes. So, for example, I believe that a lot of Australian parents, you know, the young families kind of, especially where I lived, there were a lot of young families. Like this area was new houses, it was young families mostly moving in. Like that. So it was like that where, you know, kind of like curfews were a thing. You know, your parents wouldn't really like letting their children out of the house maybe too much. Whereas I would say from the beginning, at the very earliest childhood stage, I think Polish kids are a bit more independent in that they, for example, like let out of the house to go and do stuff and then play with kids in their neighborhood. And it's a lot less supervised. So it's kind of that maybe rural atmosphere inside of the city where it's just like, you know, I don't know, go climb something, go break an arm, break a leg. It's childhood. It's what you're supposed to do.
That's true. That is true.
yeah. It's kind of like that. So that's the way it kind of works. Also, Poland is not as strict in obeying the rule of law. Polish people and in general, no, maybe that's not like bad, but I'm saying in policing, maybe the rule of law. So, for example, if like campfire or like a grill somewhere in the
that is a good one.
In the somewhere where no one sees, right? Technically, not supposed to. Practically,
yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in Australia, right, a lot of these places are very, like I said, urban planned, right? Copy paste. So there's not a lot of unused space within that that environment. So I think kids are very limited to what is given them in that
All
place,
right. Okay.
which is often very good. Which is often like we had like an amazing park next to my house. We had a skate park, a big spider web to climb, which was I think like 15 meters tall, as well. So very very big. Football fields, many of them. Really nice grassy areas, basketball courts everywhere. Basketball courts are everywhere. Like I said, it's like this urban planner went, okay, let's have copy paste houses around and have, okay, park in the middle. That park will have a basketball court, a playground, and something else. And that's the way it works. Like, well, kids will go out to this designated area, and they will kind of do those things. They will play basketball. They will play in the playground, jump around. Maybe there's something they can do extra, but usually it's confined within those things of their day-to-day kind of going out and having fun with their friends. Whereas in Poland, when that is not the case, for example, right, I don't remember having a playground near me. What we had were railings, a parking lot, a forest, some trees to climb, some hills you could go sledding down in winter, a few shops that would sell you icy poles and ice creams, and you kind of make do, which is again kind of perhaps that not so strict atmosphere. You know, it's maybe it's not there, so you make do, you create your own kind of things. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, now in the newer areas, of course, there is more and more of that, right? But it is true that at the time when we were growing up, there wasn't so much. So there was like more make do stuff, right?
Exactly. Of course, right now people build like gated communities in these areas.
Sure. And there you have like all these fantastic playgrounds and so on.
Yeah, very well planned, and exactly. And then families will be okay. They'll be like to their kids, go and play in the playground. It's fine. Go and do something.
Yeah,
that's the way it works. Whereas kind of for us, it was like, Mom, I'm leaving. I'll be back before dark. Or
exactly.
They'll be like, she'll be like, that's fine. Like, where are you going? I'm gonna climb some railings and I don't know, maybe break a leg or go into the forest and make a house or something, or like
something like that. Yeah,
or something. We'll think about it. That's the way it kind of the vibe I got. From
Cool. All right. So thank you very much for talking on that. So education growing up in Poland and Australia, a little bit different feeling of the growing up, definitely. Thank you very much for talking today.
Sure, no problem. It was a pleasure.